explorers, how are you all doing this fine day? Just kidding guys, Can here. This is a complete wood and fruit tree farming and also calcut farming guide for general use, from basics to advanced XP maximizing techniques with some aspects specifically geared towards the double XP weekend coming up soon. It's actually the first guide that's involved both me, Canman, and Zenivilius in its production. Just one thing to say, feel free to pause whenever you want, we'll go through this stuff relatively quickly, so without further ado, let's rock on. But before we begin, I'd like to give the Scroll of Life a special mention. It gives you a 10% chance of receiving a seed back when you dig up a tree or get a farmer to do it for you, and 5% chance of receiving it back from a dead harvest. It requires 25 dungeoneering and 25 farming to use, and also 10,000 tokens to buy, but once it's unlocked it can save you meals of cash in the long run. The first thing you'll need is a seed of both the highest level wood and fruit trees you can plant. A filled plant pot, either bought from farming shops or more conveniently from the GE, or made by yourself through crafting and can be filled by using on any farming patch of any type. Just use this seed on the pot, then use either a magic watering can, which can be obtained after the Fairy Tales Part 3 quest, this has unlimited water, or a normal watering can which can hold 8 sections of water on the pot, and put it in the bank or just do something else. Within a few minutes your planted seeds will grow into a sapling. For farming in general, make sure you have kitted out your tool belt's entire farming section, and also stocked up on the leprechauns, which are tool holders, found next to almost every farming patch. They hold tools and items like super compost and can also note your farming produce instantly when used on them. This is mainly used in allotments and herbs though. Leprechauns can also be used in noting fruits obtained when harvesting fruit trees. Finally, don't forget your magic secateurs from the Fairy Tale iQuest if you have them. It doesn't boost tree farming XP, but it does boost yield for allotments and herbs, and you might as well use it instead of normal secateurs if you have it. Here is a list of the wood tree seeds, the levels needed, XP gained from checking health. This is how you get 95% of the total XP from growing a tree. You can only do this if you've successfully grown the tree without it dying due to disease in the middle. And the current GE price of a seed. As you can see, the magic tree seed is quite expensive, so for non-bonus XP weekends it is best to plant yew trees even though they give less XP. However, for the upcoming double XP weekend, I highly recommend you plant magic seeds if you have the levels or can boost if you are close. Here is a similar list as the last list. It's in the same format, but this time it's for the fruit tree seeds. The costs aren't as extreme as the wood trees, and also if you're going to train hardcore, if you're going to train your farming hardcore, fruit trees take roughly twice as long to grow as wood trees at high levels, so the cost is even less in the long run than wood trees for growing fruit trees. Also, fruit trees yield 6 fruits once they fully grow. You also need to pay for the tree's protection. For this it is best to give the nearby gardeners their payment, usually in the form of other fruits or baskets of fruits, which can be noted when given. This can cost quite a lot for some trees, but for the high level ones it is best to pay for protection, because if they disease and die you won't get the 95% of XP you get from checking the health of the tree. If you don't protect it, the tree has a high chance to become diseased and die unless you check it regularly while it is diseased and prune off diseased branches with secateurs. Another way is to significantly decrease chance of death by adding super compost to the patch before planting the sapling, or using the fertile soil spell from Luna's, which does the same thing on either an empty or used patch. You'll see exactly what this means later. For every tree except yew, I recommend you give the gardener the payment for protection, because it isn't worth the tree dying and you losing the cash, unless you're particularly low level, because then the payments are not worth the time and effort. For yew, the payment for yew, as in the tree yew, the yew tree, the payment is ridiculously expensive for the amount of XP you get, so super compost and a scroll of life will do the trick. A very important point to note is that even if you pay for your trees, they can become diseased, but the gardener will tend to them, which could massively increase growth time, so it is worthwhile using super compost even on protected patches for this reason on double XP weekend, or even hardcore regular training if wanted. It doesn't cost much anyway. There are two special trees I highly recommend you to incorporate into your farm run. First, the Calquat tree. This needs 72 farming. This gives decent XP but takes a day to grow. This also needs 8 poison ivy berries for payment. The seed is well worth planting for just 12 kgp. Secondly, there is the spirit tree, which has the highest requirements to plant. 83 farming is needed to plant one tree, and 86 farming, as well as prisoner of glue-free quest, is needed for planting 2 at a time. It can take up to 3 days to grow, so I would highly advise planting this well in advance of bonus XP weekend. It can be obtained by managing miscellanea, ganodermic beasts, or looting birds' nests. The best way, if you're not 95 Slayer, being your kingdom, because the amount of nests you get from woodcutting yields tons of seeds. It can be obtained from the Vinesweeper minigame, but the points needed to buy it would be better spent on much higher farming XP. Protection is almost mandatory for this one. Unfortunately, it's hard to get the requested items too, but both the monkey related stuff can be bought from the food store in Ape Atoll. But the ground tooth can be ground with a pestle and mortar from a tooth which is commonly dropped from Sukas in Lunar Isle. This requires most of the Lunar Diplomacy quest though. All of the trees mentioned can be boosted to get the levels needed to be planted. It doesn't require a boost to check health once planted though. The most common boosts are the Garden Pie, which boosts by 3 levels, often used for spirit trees, and activating the boost from a stranger plant familiar, which can boost 4 levels if planting a spirit tree or 2. It isn't worth using a spicy stew in my opinion, since it takes too long to make and the boost isn't guaranteed either. Just too much fuss for little reward. It is best to do both fruit and wood tree runs together for maximum efficiency and XP. In a single farming run there are 5 wood tree patches and 6 fruit tree patches available where you can plant your seeds. The 6th fruit tree patch requires Morning's End Part 1 and an elf teleport crystal to tell you there quickly. Here are the locations of the 5 wood tree patches. As you can see, they're not too close to each other to make running efficient, so I will show you which routes and teleports I take. Here are the fruit tree patches. A lot are close to nearby wood trees, which saves run time if farmed efficiently. There are 3 possible locations of the spirit tree patch. I only use 2 though always, the Port Sarim and the Brimhaven ones, because the Etseteria one is quite far away from any teleport spots. The Calquat tree is deep in Karamja, but is pretty close if you tele to Brimhaven house teleport, either by having your house there or by using chip tablets after the love story quest. In your inventory you should carry all your noted payments except for the spirit tree payments, all saplings except the spirit tree saplings, and all necessary teleports, and at least around 5k gold in your pouch. For me, using the highest level trees, I have 125 noted coconuts for my 5 magic trees, 90 papayas for my 6 palm trees, and 8 poison ivy berries for the Calquat trees. And 5 monkey nuts, which I'll be showing now, 1 monkey bar, and 1 ground tooth for the spirit tree, which can be bought from the monkeys in Ape Atoll, as I mentioned earlier. I tend to leave the spirit tree or trees till last because of the inventory space restrictions. The teleports you need to bring are the Varrock, Lumbridge and Falador teletabs, a Juju spirit bag or a witch doctor mask if you have it, an elf telecrystal, an explorer's ring 3 if you have it, a ring of dueling with lots of charges. Don't forget your 6 fruit tree, 5 wood tree and 1 Calquat tree sapling in your inventories too. This clip will be a model farm run that you guys may wish to use when going on your own farm runs. So here you see Zen making his way across Tavali to the first plot. As you see here, it says his ewe was dead. This was because he didn't pay the gardener to take care of it. He plants a new tree and then he pays the gardener to take care of it. This time it was a magical tree, so it was worth it. He then makes his way to the Falador plot, in which he checks the health of the tree, gets the XP, and then pays the farmer to take it down. You can normally pay 200 GP, I think it is, to ask to get the farmer to take it down. You can see that the Scroll of Life actually saved him a seed, so it's well worth buying the Scroll of Life. He makes his way to the Lumbridge plot, and then he does the same thing. And after this, he makes his way to the Varrock plot, in which he again does the same thing. The Varrock plot is east of the courtyard in the castle. And after this, he teleports to the Mobilizing Armies bank. This is because it's the quickest bank on his route. He uses the spirit tree to teleport to the tree gnome village, I believe it is. And then just outside the maze, there will be a fruit tree patch. You can't actually pay the farmer to chop down the yew tree, the fruit tree. So it actually takes a little longer to take this down and get the XP. So after he finishes this, he makes his way back to the tree gnome village and back to the spirit tree, where he tellies to the tree gnome stronghold on his way to the second fruit tree spot. It's directly east of the telly, and he does the same thing as he did in the previous fruit tree plot, where he uses super compost and then pays the gardener and plants the tree, of course. And then no need to telly again, just southwest of the telly spot, you will find a normal wood tree plot where he again plants a magical tree. He then teleports to Brimhaven, where he then walks south and a bit east to reach the another plot where he had a Calquat tree planted in before. So he harvests the tree. I don't recommend actually using this tree for any money gaining purposes, because it's not a good money maker. He then plants a normal fruit tree, and then uses the Lelator crystal to teleport to the elf village. And not many people have this. Well, not many lower levels, because the quest is actually very long. And then he just plants another fruit tree. He uses his witch doctor mask to teleport to the juju farming area. You can also use a juju pouch, which can be bought from GE, to teleport to the same place. And again, he planted a fruit tree. So after this, he goes to Catherby through Lodestone and goes to the third to last plot of the run, and it's directly southeast of the Lodestone, where he finds another fruit tree. And again, he plants a palm tree and makes his way to Mobilizing Armies again for the banking before the second to last trip, where he takes out the required ingredients for his last two trees. After this, he teleports back to Brimhaven, and then he goes up to his palm tree and takes that down. Palm trees take a while, so excuse me while he chops his tree down. So after he does this, which will be in a bit, after he digs it up, he again plants a new one. This is all very repetitive, but it's what you do. And then he makes his way directly east to the last special tree plot, where he had a spirit tree planted. He gained a lot of XP from this, and then he planted a new one in its place. And this was the last spot on the last plot on the run. And yeah, that was the run. You may have wondered what Zen was taking along with him on his farm run there. It was a clan avatar with the skilling buff activated. He's a warden, so he can take it out when he wants and when nobody else is. There's quite a lot of information on clan avatars and citadels, and there's a link in the description for that, so we won't ramble on too much about it. But it could give up to 1k bonus XP drop, as you saw with the spirit tree health check. So it's well worth it, but it won't stack up with the 2x multiplier on double XP weekend. There are 2 summoning familiars most useful for for tree farming runs, these being the giant ant and the hydra. If you're just looking for quick farm XP and a little extra cash, you'd be best using the ant for 1.5 times fruit yield. Finally, there's a couple of useful magic stuff. The first is the Amulet of Nature, which can be made by casting a level 2 enchant jewelry on a pre-nature amulet. Now it can be used on any farming patch, and it can tell you when the tree is either diseased or fully grown. It also has unlimited charges for teleportation if you wish to tend to the tree when it's diseased. It also allows you to remotely pay for your tree's protection if you forgot to. However, the better alternative is the Livid Farm spell Remote Farm, requiring 314k produce points or up to 20 hours of work at the farm. Understandably, that may not be possible for people, but it is extremely useful because it tells you the status of every single patch on Gielinor, as well as being able to cure disease for free from afar. This is the last section of the guide, and it's for those of you really looking to hardcore double XP weekend by maximizing your farming XP through tree runs. Here are the typical times for growth of trees if none get diseased. This is why you should both protect and use super compost for fast growth times at double XP weekend. As you can see, wood trees are quite slow at higher levels, but the XP gain more than makes up for it, and the fruit trees are all 16 hours. Since Spirit Tree is more than 2 days, you don't need to worry about checking health more than once. You could replant it on double XP weekend if you want for the small extra XP from planting it, but remember to make sure to plant your trees well in advance of double XP weekend so they're fully grown at the start of double XP weekend. In this table, all the times are in GMT. Basically, the first run you do at bonus XP weekend should be like the one you saw Zen doing before, checking and replanting all the trees, but after 8 hours you only need to replant the wood trees since the fruit trees take 16 hours. 8 hours after that, at 4 am on Sunday morning, you should replant both fruit and wood trees since both will have regrown. Then on 12 noon on Sunday, you should only replant wood trees, but don't forget your Calquat, which should have regrown by now. For Calquat, you only need to replant it twice over double XP weekend, once on Saturday 12 PM GMT, and the other on Sunday 9 am GMT, or along with your regular tree run, since it takes a day to grow, so you can't plant 3. Just repeat this cycle, but I doubt anyone will stick to this perfectly. It's just there as a guidance for what to do in an ideal world. But what I can tell you is that you would need up to 6 lots of wood tree runs and 3 lots of fruit tree runs for max XP. Using all the highest level trees, and in a perfect scenario, the highest XP gain from this method and timetable would be a whopping 1.23 mil farming XP. On the downside, it would cost up to 11 mil, which isn't too bad to be honest. I hope you'd agree. Anyway, guys, thanks very much for watching. This took a very long time to make. Hope you found it useful. If you have any questions whatsoever, please post them down below. We will reply as soon as possible. Have a nice day.